Okay, so I've noticed that going to trans communities or groups have become kind of a big thing for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like support groups, and there's even like, I don't know if trans pride is mixed in with gay pride or anything like that, but it's become like a big thing. Like everyone talks about, you should go to a trans community or a group or support group for trans people and blah de blah de blah. Personally, I don't like the idea of trans communities or um, going to trans support groups or um, just trans groups in general. It makes me uncomfortable. And the reason for that is, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a normal person. I'm a normal girl. And I'm not saying that people who love attending those meetings aren't normal. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it it makes me feel subhumanized going to some support group where everybody's trans. There's something about that that just makes me uncomfortable. And I don't know if I'm explaining that well enough to you, but I'm a normal girl. Yeah, I have medical conditions that I'm going through, and it's hard, yes. And yes, it is good to know other trans people. Um, that's just kind of support in itself. But making it a whole big deal, like going to a support group, or I mean, it's good for some people, and I know that it's very helpful for some people. But it just feels very subhumanizing. And pride. In some places, there are big pride things where a whole bunch of trannies march down the street and hold flags and banners and all these different, oh my gosh, I do not like being a part of any of that. As far as I'm concerned, that kind of stuff where you're making a big scene about being trans and everything, that's just feeding the stereotype that we already especially have. When there's, those trans individuals who dress all gaudy and just over the top and stilettos and big hair and oh my god, like I'm so totally trans and you do realize that does not help us, right? We already have that stereotype, so confirming that stereotype as a big scene in attempt to support the trans community, uh, it embarrasses me, and I don't want to be a part of it. I don't like it. It feels very, as I said, subhumanizing. Another thing that I've had to address, particularly, well, not really particularly anywhere, just everywhere, in my workplace, over the internet, just everywhere, I've had to address this issue. Being trans versus being homosexual, being gay or lesbian or whatever. Um, Being trans Being transgendered has nothing to do with your sexual preferences, so to speak. Being trans has only to do with you being a boy or a girl and having the wrong anatomy structure. That is all trans really is, really. Like, I guess there are different branches of being trans. Like, there's something like being transsexual, which is you're a certain gender and you have the wrong sex, as in the wrong genitals, and you're changing that to match your gender. And then there's like transgender as an umbrella term, and that can include, that gets complicated. I'm not going to get into that. Male to female trans individual, it means that you're gay, and that if you enter a relationship with, let's say, you're a trans guy and you get into a committed relationship with a girl, a lot of people consider that, being lesbian or a homosexual relationship. If I were to get into a relationship with a guy, a straight guy, by the way, there are some people who are confused about this, and let's see, how did Calpurnia Adams put this? What do gay guys want? There's a question, well, do you date gay guys or do you date straight guys? And what do gay guys want? Another guy, right? They're gay because they're a man who likes men. I am a girl who was born with a male anatomy, so yes, technically I guess I right now have the equipment that a gay guy would like. Kind of weird thinking about it that way, but I'm a girl. I hopefully look like a girl, I sound like a girl, I'm a girl. What do straight guys want? A girl. So, who do I date? Especially after I get my SRS done, my sex reassignment surgery done. Who do you think I'm going to date? You think a girl is going to be dating gay guys? No. I will be in a heterosexual relationship. Hetero. I'm a straight girl. So yeah. Being transsexual, transgendered, whatever, in and of itself has nothing to do with being gay. I had to address that at work recently, so. And LGBT. That's something that I do not like. I do not believe there should be a T at the end of LGBT. Because they're lumping it in with a homosexual community. As if being transsexual means you're homosexual. And it doesn't. So don't say LGBT. That's incorrect, and it drives me crazy. It should just be LGBT. Having trans friends. There's been some discussion, or I've seen discussion, about trans people wanting to have a whole bunch of other trans friends, and la di da hang out with trans people, date trans people. It's all become a big hubbub. And my take on this is I know that it's kind of interesting and supportive and cool to know or be friends with, another trans person because they know what you're going through, or, it's always nice and it's cool. Um, but for me, it just kind of goes back to the whole um, normal people thing. We're all just normal people. So I don't see why you have to go into specifics like that. Like, focusing your life on the fact that you were transgendered and associating with a whole bunch of transgendered people and just making that like the main focus of everything you do. I just think that's really not smart. And like, I don't know, I picture it. I go to the mall with a few girlfriends and I'm just one of the girls. Nothing different about me other than the fact that I have surgeries that need to be done. I'm just one of the girls. No specifics. And then I picture, being all wanting to do is having trans friends and going to the mall with, like, being the tranny group or, the couple of trannies. I guess it wouldn't bother me if I could picture, normal people who both happen to be transgender, but, nothing out of the ordinary about them. Because when I picture it, I'm thinking, oh my god, we're transgendered. Oh my god, we have to go to the shoe store. And oh my god, girlfriend. And the kind of setting I do not want to be a part of because I'm not that kind of tranny. And I'm not judging that because, quite honestly, I kind of have the fantasy or the dream, the want to have another friend that's like, I think it'd be cool to have a friend who's transgendered like I am and be able to normally just go to the mall, go have tea, go have coffee, with another transgendered friend or even a couple. I guess the whole issue for me is how ordinary you seem. And by ordinary, I don't mean boring and casual. I mean, I'm an eccentric person. So, when I say fitting in or nothing out of the ordinary, I simply mean, oh look, there's a couple girls hanging out, or there's a group of people hanging out. Not, oh look, there's a couple trannies hanging out. It all comes down to stereotypes for me, and because the one thing I want to avoid most in this world is the stereotype of being a tranny. That's all I'm really saying. Um and I guess some people would say, "Oh, I'm just insecure about being transgendered." No, I'm not insecure. I just love to acknowledge the fact that I'm just a normal girl. And so hanging out or going to coffee should just be a normal thing for me as a person, as a normal person. I mean, there's really no such thing as normal, but in the sense that I'm talking about, there is. As a trans person. Some people who are transgendered like to stick to other transgendered people when it comes to dating, and that's cool. That's fine. Um, Personally, unless I met another transgendered person who I just kind of fell for, that's not normally what I would go for. Um, straight guys for me. But anyway, well, obviously he would be a straight guy even if he were trans. But anyway, pros. There are people out there who are straight and are not going to use you for their own homosexual curiosities and experimentations or fetishes. Those are pros, obviously. The cons are pretty much the opposite of what I just stated. It is very, very hard to, at least for, I don't know if it's harder for trans girls than it is for trans guys. Because I find gay guys and girls to be more accepting of having a trans relationship than straight guys are. Because I think straight guys are the ones with the insecurities. Cautions. It's a very touchy subject. I don't think it is smart to withhold if you are passable enough that you can get by without them really questioning you as to whether or not you're a girl or a boy. I do not think it is smart to hold that from them. Whenever someone is interested in me, I mean, you don't have to tell them before you start dating. Sorry. Because I know I don't. I don't tell guys that I'm trans if I'm interested in them, unless they're interested in me. Once they start showing interest in me, that's when I usually start going, well, I like you too, but before, before things start happening, you do know that I am trans, right? I am a trans girl. And surprisingly, most of the time I have to explain that. I'd really like the input of a trans guy. If any of you watching are trans male, I'd like your input. Do you have difficulty, like, dating? So I know I do. But of course, I live in Montana, the middle of Montana. So, duh, it's going to be hard for me to date. I really don't know exactly what that's supposed to mean. Um, as far as my understanding goes, I don't know if I'm wrong, but as far as my understanding goes, it means that, for example, if you're a trans woman, living stealth means that you live your day-to-day life as a woman, just not revealing the fact to everybody you meet that you're trans. As in just living as a normal woman, which isn't that kind of the point? Like, I've seen people making a big deal out of living stealth as being a bad thing. Isn't that kind of the point of transition? To be able to live your day-to-day life without having to acknowledge the fact that you were born with the wrong anatomy? Isn't that kind of the point? I don't know. I think it's the point. So if that's what living stealth is, then hell yeah, I'm going to be living stealth. I'm going to be so stealthy you won't even know what stealth is. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's just kind of contradictory how that seems to have a bad rep. Anyway, so yeah, this has been my little, actually it's been about, not exactly a little episode, but you know me, I make pretty long videos. So I'd love to hear your opinions and see your comments and your thoughts on all this.